It's Christmas 2014, and I'm sitting in my backyard surrounded by friends and family. Yet I can't help but a feeling of loneliness coming over me. And it doesn't make sense because this is meant to be the happiest time of year. I shouldn't be low, but I am. So I assume it's just me, and I'm the problem. Humankind has a very funny history, and it's been going on for millions of years, but there was a very crucial turning point. Now, I want you to imagine that we've got on one hand natural selection. And natural selection is the majority shareholder in the business that is humankind. It's the dominant force, and it has been for quite some time. But there's another thing, a business partner with natural selection, running the human race, and that's the conscious self, the part of us that is active, awake, or somewhat aware of what's going on. Now, at a point, these two business partners split. They got fed up with each other. They realized they had different goals, they valued different things, and they started to segue and go their own paths. Now, that point in time was called the cognitive revolution. It's when humans were able to differentiate themselves from the other species by recognizing each other and sharing ideas and sharing stories and being able to coordinate in much larger groups. And that's when we started to segue from natural selection. Now, the problem is natural selection is still that 90% shareholder, and the conscious self only has 10%. And this bloody dispute, this business partner fallout, the biggest dispute and fallout of all time, is still raging on today. And most people don't even realize it. It's not making the news, but it's everywhere. Now, I want you to imagine natural selection as maybe, forgive me, but your Rupert Murdochs of the world. Cruel maybe, unforgiving, just a cold-hearted businessman. Cares only about one thing, their bottom line. Not about customer satisfaction, not about, well-meaning, good culture workplaces, only cares about the bottom line. And then on the other hand, you've got conscious self, the smaller player, but they care more about the whole journey. They want the customer experience to be meaningful. They want the employees to feel valued. They value meaning. Now, breaking this analogy down a bit, what we're talking about, of course, is that natural selection's only focus for all of human history has been getting our genes to survive and carry on to the next generation. That's all natural selection cares about. It doesn't care about how happy we are, whether our life is fulfilled. It only cares about reproducing copies of our genetic material, making sure they survive, that we survive long enough that we can pass that on, and then ensuring that we protect that genetic material. Now, the problem is modern life is more complex. The conscious self has more needs because what we've built around us is a world that is largely quite comfortable. We're not out in the woods running from tigers and bears anymore. We're not hunting meal by meal. We're producing our food. We're controlling our environment more than we ever had. But because natural selection has been doing its thing for so long, because it's just been so focused on the bottom line, on the dollars and cents, on the genetic codes, it's worked for millions of years for natural selection. So it's not listening to the conscious self yet, because what it's been doing has been working for so long that the cognitive revolution is just the blink of an eye ago. So it's going to take time. It's going to take time for natural selection to wake up. It's going to happen very slowly, but it's not going to happen as fast as the conscious self is evolving. What we have today, ladies and gentlemen, is a world and societies that are built for comfort more than they are for meaning. And the way we achieve these different things is completely different. You see, a comfortable life means we have food, we have shelter, we're not starving. That's a comfortable life. That's the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Meaning is a different need brought about in our lives by an awareness of ourselves and a heightened awareness of ourselves over time. but we don't have the systems for doing it. We're not taught how to build meaning in our lives. We're not really taught what makes us happy. Those messages get turned down. And modern life is this tension between the natural selection forces that have always programmed us to react a certain way and the new conscious self, the new kid on the block, the minority shareholder, the 10% shareholder of our brains, who's trying but doesn't have the tools. Fast forward to me, Christmas time and New Year's. I wrote a blog post, why 365 good days aren't the same as a good year. And we have all these counterintuitive biases that are outdated. They look for problems in our environment where there are none. And that's why times when we're meant to be so happy are not often that meaningful. So it's time to retrain and recondition our natural selection shaped impulses and focus on creating meaning in everyday life.